The lecture for March 2017 is Pathfic Lecture 203, Aspects of the Divine Spark. And as usual, I divide the lecture into 4 sections so we can examine different aspects of the lecture. And in the first week, we looked at the invitation to feel all our feelings. It sounds so easy. Why would we not feel all our feelings? So the guide talks about different ways where we don't want to take responsibility for the full range of our feelings. 2 examples of this would be projecting our feelings onto others, so that I don't own the anger. Other people are angry, and I need to help them and support them and do things to help reduce anger in the world, but I am not angry. Our ability to see anger is partly due to our familiarity with feelings of anger. So when we project feelings onto others, the invitation is to look back and say, where is my anger? I also need to take responsibility for my anger. A second way to avoid feeling all our feelings is to blame others for causing our feelings. So I wouldn't be angry if you didn't make me angry. But that belies the fact that we're delighted to be angry. I get the opportunity to be angry. And of course, you can't brag about that. That's wrong. So what we do is we blame the other person. I wouldn't be angry except for that. So it's a way of having our cake and eating it too. I can be angry, but it's not my fault. That's not feeling all our feelings. That's playing games. That's trying to shuffle some of the responsibility onto other people. The invitation to feel all our feelings is to feel all our feelings and let other people feel theirs. So I may not be angry right now, and the rest of the world may be angry. For me to get angry is not true to me. I'm simply not angry. I can look at whether that is a denial, but it's also possible that I personally don't react the same way other people react. That would be being true to my feelings. And the reverse is also true. If nobody's angry but me, there may be truth in my anger that other people don't get. They don't see it. They don't feel it. They don't put cause and effect together. It's still important for me to own and understand my anger, not just act it out. Own and understand it. And go through the self-analysis to make sure it's a real feeling and not something trumped up. The second week, we looked at realities beyond human knowing. In terms of spiritual work, spiritual knowing requires humility. So I'm using the word knowing, but it's a sense of knowing without knowing all the details. I love when the guide goes, I'm going to use the phrase off script. And the guide begins to talk about how the universe works, how the spirit world works. And almost always he catches himself and comes back and says, well, you don't need to know all that. You need to know how your planet works, not how the mechanics of the spirit world work. But I like hearing that there is more than floating around on a cloud in the spirit world. Now, he also says, and you couldn't understand it anyway. I'm using metaphors to try to describe it, but I can't describe to you what it's like in spirit to do the things I'm describing. There are more dimensions in spirit. In one place, he says there's more colors in the spirit world than we experience in the visible color range. So when he tries to describe using color, he can't describe what is in the spirit world. We can't see it, so we have no words for it. We have no place in our mind to put it. So he might pick Rose because that's close, but it's not the actual reality of the spiritual world. So that's why I'm saying that we can have a sense of the spiritual world, but we can't have an actual knowing of spirit world while we're here. Our minds are too limited. Our souls are not too limited, but we don't have total access to our soul and spirit. We have access to the part that manifests. In the third week, we looked at feelings as fixed opinions, and there was some difficulty understanding this part. So the example I'm going to use is, if I am afraid and I live in constant fear, it is possible that the origin of that was that I thought there was something to be afraid of. And when some feelings of fear emerged, I fostered them, I nurtured them, I held them, I exaggerated, dramatized, and let them build up. I focused my attention on the feelings of fear rather than my opinion that something should be something to be afraid of. The guide is suggesting that especially when you have a very strong emotion about something, that this may not be real feeling. This may be a little exaggerated, a captured feeling that's been nurtured to substitute for doing other work. So feelings as fixed opinions. And when we have those feelings and we are in a state of terror, what that does is it invisibly justifies. You see, that is to be afraid of because I am terrified. So it validates our original opinion. It's an example where cause and effect get lengthened so that we don't remember the momentary cause, where we chose the feeling of fear instead of being willing to examine what we were afraid of. And in the fourth week, we looked at negativity and how that prevents trust. Again, to understand that, what the guide is suggesting is that there's more choice in our attitudes than we may choose to take credit for. There is more choice in how we present reality than we may take responsibility for. So in terms of negativity preventing trust, if we don't want to trust, then we emphasize the untrustworthiness of that adventure. It's not trustworthy. It has this and this and this problem. So of course I don't trust it. So we hide in negativity, but the origin was an unwillingness to trust. Trust is an organic process. If you trust and it doesn't work, the invitation is to look at, what were you thinking? What were you feeling when you made the decision? Was your decision affected by a strong emotion that it caught you unawares? So you were in a good mood and you signed the document, rather than reading it very, very carefully and asking questions, which would have ruined your fun. So if the contract you signed doesn't turn out well, the question you need to ask is, how did I participate in a contract that was not a good deal for me? How did I participate in a relationship that couldn't hold trust? How did I pick the wrong partner? Both in business or in personal life? How did I pick a bad friend? What was I seeing? What was I reacting to? What was I discounting? The negativity says bad person, bad job, bad relationship. But that isn't the whole truth. the whole truth involves, where I would rather have a bad relationship than an intimate relationship, because I'm a little afraid of intimate relationships. Or I would rather have an easy friendship than a good friendship. So I discounted my reservations about my friend and got deeply involved with that person without considering the potential downsides of it. So this goes back to negativity preventing trust. And throughout this lecture, one of the themes is that the divine spark is movement. And when we become afraid of movement, both expansion, contraction, and stasis, when we become afraid of movement, or we say expansion only, and we don't give ourselves the opportunity to contract, or contraction because of negativity, and so we miss out on opportunities and experiences that might have been there if we'd been more flexible, more open. So if you think of movement in terms of breath, you don't only inhale and you don't only exhale. And all of us have a pause at some point in our breathing cycle. People stay there for different times. And sometimes you breathe faster and there's more in, and sometimes you sigh and there's more out. That there's an organic balance within you. And the invitation is to key in to this organic balance, to align with something that can't be written on a piece of paper. It can never be on a worksheet with bullet points. It's unique to you. You can be around like-minded people and may feel supported. Your journey may be to be in some level of solitude, and you may need to figure it out on your own. So that's a part of what's in the lecture. I encourage you to read it. It's a beautiful lecture. Pathfic Lecture 203, Aspects of the Divine Spark. Thanks for listening.